Hi everybody, this is Emma. Welcome back to my studio, or welcome to my studio if this is your first visit. It's lovely to have you here with me. I kind of was thinking about what to film this week when I was sitting in here yesterday afternoon. It was a bit of a gloomy afternoon because it was raining. It was very much a Cumbrian rainy day, which is really lovely. I love going out with my big umbrella and having a walk when it's like that, which I did later on last night. But I just wasn't quite sure what I was doing with myself in the afternoon. I'd done quite a bit of sewing in the morning and been quite productive. So I thought in the afternoon I would just get a box of fabrics out and have a play, which is what I did. And I have to say I highly recommend this as a distraction, as a bit of fun, as a cheering up process, or if you're kind of feeling stuck and you don't know what to create next, just get out a box of fabric. I say this time and time again, I know, but I think you can't beat actually starting something. So many times our head says, oh no, you haven't got time, and oh no, you can't do that now, and oh, I can't think of anything to make, or I can't think of anything to do, and you kind of freeze up. So I find if I just go and I look along my boxes of fabrics, and I've got them all done in colours, so you can sort of see them, and I'm there kind of peering into all the boxes. And yesterday afternoon, as I say, it was quite a sort of a soft, light afternoon, and I felt like just doing something with these pretty soft blues. So I've got all sorts of fabrics in here, old skirts, old tops, dresses. This is a lovely scarf, or it was a lovely scarf till I chopped it up. This is something really beautiful, and I love using this in some of my pictures. A lot of these are old friends, because I keep them for years and I slowly chop them up and turn them into things. This is a lovely bit of blingy sort of sequined lacy stuff, which you could leave the sequins on and enjoy those, or I tend to cut along in between them, and sometimes you can pick them off as well. Just depends how bling you're feeling. And there's bits and pieces like this that you can make use of. Every aspect of the clothes that I chop up gets utilised eventually in some form or another, and that's such a pleasure really, because I get all these different fabrics, and I get them from charity shops. I'm quite open about that because buying fabrics is quite tricky around here, and I get all these different sorts of things to use, and I think, well, that's okay, the charity shop gets a donation and they don't know that I'm going to take it home and chop it up. So the other thing I was going to say was, depending on what you're looking for and what colours you want to use, you could do something that's much, much stronger. So there's a box here that I've just chosen these really strong dark blues, which would obviously create a very different atmosphere in whatever you're going to make. And then you could actually put a bit of real zing in with that mix. This is the beauty with playing with fabrics. I find I'm not a painter. I find mixing paint colours quite tricky when I do have a go at it. Whereas with fabrics, it's just an absolute, and you can pick and choose, and they're just ready there for you to use, and you decide what goes with what and what you want to see next to each other. So that's a little basket of stronger colours which I decided I wasn't going to use. And over here, I don't know if you can see this, this is the sort of fabric that I chose, and I've cut some up to use. I added a little bit of lilac in there, but I'm not sure whether that's staying. There's things like this which has got a bit of gold in it. It's a little scarf with a bit of gold in it. There's a little piece here that's got some pattern on it. Again, I'm not sure whether I'm going to use that eventually or not. This is a nice piece of kind of lacy, stretchy stuff. And you can see, I think you can see it's got a vertical pattern going on there. So you could cut it sort of along that way and you get a verticality to it. That's a good word, isn't it? Or you could cut it that way and get a horizontal effect with it. So that even with the fabrics, there's lots of different ways you can use them. If you've got an embellishing machine, so much the better, because you can really mash all these fabrics together, and you can put two fabrics together and create a new piece of fabric out of those like that. But today I'm just going to literally just play with fabric and just see what happens, see where it takes me, just to get me moving forward with something new. So I'm going to turn the camera down now with my fancy new equipment over there, which is 2 stools and some planks and a bit of wood, which I strap my camera to, very high tech. and we'll see what happens next. Here we are then. I've laid out on my little table here, I've got a piece of calico, and I've got a piece of my lovely stitch and tear, which I use all the time as a stabiliser, so that when I'm free machining it'll be nice and stiff. I'm a bit short of curtain interlining at the moment, so I'm actually just using these 2 layers for the time being. And in this little basket here I've got some possible pieces of lace, and this I thought could be some beachy sort of stuff. And I've got a little pile here of my turquoisey pieces. And I'm just going to play. It's very much just seeing what works for me. This is all about your personal choice, okay? You get to choose. This is your piece of creativity, your piece of art. If you want to call it art, you can call it art, or you can just say it's just something I'm making. And there's no pressure, and it's completely your choice. Nobody else. You can ask, you can ask other people for their opinion by all means, but actually, it's what pleases your eye is what's going to go onto your picture. I think we're making it entirely to please yourself. That's what I'm saying, I think. So this is a lovely piece of shiny satiny stuff. It's really quite dark, but I quite like that, and I thought I'll just play with putting that down there. I'm going to put some beachy sort of colours down to start with down here. I've done a little bit of blue up there. I'm not sure it's going to have a horizon or anything. I think it's going to be simply the beach going up into the sea. And because it's not a very big piece of fabric, this, I'm just making it fairly small. And I quite fancy a bit of something shiny, as though the beach is a bit wet. And I'm just going to just play around and see what I like, see what pleases my eye. It's entirely what's in your head and your imagination. And I do find that once I start playing with the fabrics, this is what gets the creative process going. So that if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling like I was a bit yesterday afternoon, I was feeling a little bit gloomy and not quite sure what I should be doing or could be doing, and just by playing with my fabrics, it just kind of took me into a different place, which I really, really like. So there's a bit of this. This is rather fun, isn't it? I could iron that flat, but actually I quite like it just like that. This is very random. It may or may not become something. Again, this is quite nice and scrunchy. That could be something in the foreground, possibly. What else have we got? What else have we got? I think that I need some more blues on here. Oh, no, I love this piece of fabric. This was a skirt that I had for many years, and I did wear it quite a lot. And it's got really lovely, it's got 2 sides, so you can use either side. And I think we'll go for that side actually. And I'm just going to just see what happens when I put these fabrics down, playing with the colours, looking at what's going to go up there and what's going to go next to it. I think maybe something a bit darker there. And let's just have a little play with that. And what happens when I scrunch that one up a little bit like that? I think we need some more texture in here, and I think definitely need some wavy bits. Wavy bits. This could be the sea coming in. Oh, look, that's got a piece of embroidery on. I'm not sure if I want that, but I might just leave it for now. Perhaps put that bit underneath there. And what about a piece of this? This is nice. This is a nice turquoisey sort of colour. Now normally if I was going to be embellishing this, I would actually cut much bigger pieces of fabric, because when you embellish things they get really, really scrunched up like that. And they kind of, so a piece of organza like that would probably shrink up to something about half of its size. But I think I might just do some stitching with this. If I do anything at all, I might just simply play. There's a bit of silver, I might pop that in there. And I've got this, this is some of my lovely, it's like a knitted shrug thing, and I just love this stuff because you can stretch it. Depending on which way you cut it, you get different effects. So you could be popping that into there to add a bit of texture. Here's a bit of lace that we could add in. There's a bit of this. I quite like this. Look at this. This has got a ready-made edge on it. Isn't that fun? I think what I could do is put that kind of there-ish and just let it come up and over. This is total fantasy. This is totally out of my head. I'm just going to see there's a bit of lace. Oh, look, there's a bit more silver. A bit more silver over here. Let's have a little bit more of that silver because that's quite nice and reflective. Let's put a little bit. Let's just put a little bit of that into there like that. And what else have we got? We've got some really, this is really pretty lace. Isn't that pretty lace? Let's just take a little snippet of that. So I'm trying not to cut this over on top of this because I'm gonna pull off all the pieces that I've just positioned. Let's move that out of the way. So whatever this is about, it's about having some fun, letting your fingers, letting your hands take you somewhere. And I guarantee if you're feeling a bit gloomy before you start this, by the time you're finished, you'll be going, oh, hey, that's an hour gone. I've just been playing with bits of fabric for an hour and I feel so much better. Right, oh, look at this. I cut this, right, I cut this off the end of the shawl, which I think was this piece here. And I just thought that really is a lovely bit of like tangled seaweed or something. So I could perhaps have that down there somewhere. Just a bit of extra texture. And I also cut this off the end of another scarf, which I'm not sure which fabric that is. It's the green stuff there. Isn't that fun? That's a lovely bit of sort of fishing net or something. What else have we got? So I've got some of this as well. This is another shruggy bit with just cut that up a little bit. Chop, 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 chop. There we go. And you know, you could be adding that in. You might like it, you might not like it. The beauty of this game is it's just about playing and seeing what pleases your eye, and you might think, oh, that's well over the top. But by the time you've stitched that down, if you can stitch it carefully enough to keep some of the pieces sticking up, that would be really lovely, and you get a really nice texture that way. And obviously you can play the trick with putting a mount over the top of it, and then you can start to see whether those colours work for you, the different bits of the composition that you like or you don't like. Take that back a little bit and you can see more of it. I just find this helps to sort of square it off and help me to see. I mean, you could actually do it that way, you see, it could be a seascape going that way. That makes a completely different view, doesn't it? So as I say, this is just a little video just saying, hey, have some playtime, get your fabrics out, especially if you're feeling blue, get some blues out. I think yesterday's light definitely had a factor in this because it was so sort of soft. It was a lovely Cumbrian day here, and that definitely had a factor in, I think, my choice of fabrics here. So I'm just going to leave that like that and leave that with you. Get a box of fabrics out, just have a play and see what comes out of it. And if you want to then, you know, take that further, I would photograph that, because once you start taking the pieces off in order to stitch, because you really need to stitch from the background up over. This is the only snag with laying it all out like this. But as far as I'm concerned, this has been a bit of fun, and it's kind of woken up my creative juices, and it's made me want to do something new and something different. So there we go. Thanks so much for watching. As I say, just a quick video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you're staying creative and staying well. Bye for now.